All right, folks, we got XRP whales making massive acquisitions. A major milestone has just been achieved in the XRP ledger activity. And we have an update in this SEC versus Ripple case. The timeline is coming to a conclusion. This story is about to end. This cloud that was over top of XRP, it is now passing by. We are through the storm, and XRP is going to be off to the races here shortly. Let's get right on into this market update. I appreciate all of you guys' support, and everything is at ZachRector.com. Let's roll. Yesterday was Confession Day, or some call it Tax Filing Day. Senator Mike Lee calling to abolish the IRS and Federal Reserve. You know, I see so much confusion. It's like the tariff talk, right? We got tariffs, they go away, they come back, Trump tweets. We're going to talk about that next. And you kind of got the same thing taking place with the IRS as well, too. Well, you know, it started with no tax on tips, Social Security, no tax on OT, no tax on anybody making less than $150,000. And then we just rolled on into tax filing day, like we weren't just having all these conversations that basically lead us down a path of getting rid of the IRS completely or significantly scaling back basically the requirements of Americans. And so I just, once again, am urging Americans to continue pushing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness on a level playing field. Is an income tax included in that, included with all of the other burdensome taxes and regulation. The good news is that Trump has made it very clear which path he'd like us to go down. Senator Mike Lee speaking, talking about it. Are we actually going to get it done? You guys let me know in the comments down below. Now, speaking of tariffs, China now faces up to 245% tariffs due to retaliatory actions per White House briefing. So if you thought that we were done, we might not be. It looks like we're up in it now 245%. But the good news is the market is getting desensitized to the tariff talk. We're just kind of over it at this point. And we see an announcement from China basically this morning, early this morning, that sent stocks rebounding back up. Stocks are actually up today, even though in the White House briefing, the tariffs go to 245%. But the market was back up today after China says that it is open for talks if Trump shows respect and names a point person. So as I've been talking about, I think that we've been desensitized to tariff talk. We're kind of over it. Unless President Trump, removes that pause, brings it back, and actually ups the ante significantly further, I think that we've kind of passed the worst of it, and it looks like we're in the clear from the tariff talk. And it appears this person right here, Tony Guinea on X, kind of agrees. Bitcoin 88 to 90,000 soon. Tariffs are priced in. Massive market rally into summer. Fed cut in June, which I think we might even see one in May, right? We have a May meeting coming up, May 6th, 7th. And actually, Jerome Powell is going to be speaking here in about an hour today. Don't expect anything major to come of that. He might make a couple comments that could spook the markets one way or another. Once again, reiterating how fragile and weak our stock market really is. But the Fed cuts, they are on the way. And he says we get a top in July and August for Bitcoin. And then we head into a recession, Q4 2025 through 2026, with 2026 being the worst bear market of the decade. The perfect moment to be bullish is now. So that kind of aligns with what I'm seeing. The worst is behind us. This in particular with the SEC versus Ripple case coming to a conclusion. We've left the storm. Like we're already out of it. And XRP's in the clear. That's why it's holding up so well. For the stock market, it's still fragile. If Trump coughs, it could still go down more. But it looks like tariffs are mostly priced in. So as long as nothing major really happens, we're on a trajectory with inflation coming back down where the Fed has what it needs to cut. And we could see additional signs of easing from the Fed as well. That would spur us into one more rally, another rally that takes us up here. But it is going to be interesting to time this situation because we know how weak our economy was when it was handed off here. We're trying to rebuild it back up, and we might not actually hit the official recession until the second half of this year, right? We need 2 quarters of negative GDP growth before it would be official. So if we did get negative here in Q1 and we get negative in Q2 into Q3, we're not going to actually confirm the recession till later this year. So this would all kind of align with us going into this spring, early summer rally that myself and many others are kind of talking about. And this is when I'm going to be looking to take profits on some of these cryptos if they go up to my targets. Once again, I'm not going to wait for, some of these things to play out. If these coins go up to my targets and I've hit my 5-bagger, I've hit my 10-bagger, and that's the take profit level that we have, we're going to take money and run, because we do understand that the process here of rebuilding this economy doesn't get fixed with an executive order. It doesn't get fixed in one quarter. This is a process that's going to be taking a few years, and it's definitely going to be a reset, restructure, revaluation. You're going to want to make sure that you're in the right assets, and we're going to talk about that next, because we're seeing this Bitcoin campaign in overdrive, and basically this is the last narrative left for Bitcoin, is the US government buying it. And because recent comments have been made by the executive director of digital assets for the White House, Bo Hines, he once again made these comments on Eleanor Tariff's podcast. He made them again being interviewed by Anthony Pump It Up Pompliano. And so now it's circulating again, and I'm seeing the Bitcoin community really push this into overdrive. But this would align with that previous analysis and tweet of Bitcoin kind of going into one more rally before it tops off, and then it would be heading into a bear market. And that aligns with this last final narrative. The last saloon in town for Bitcoin is the US government buying it, which I don't think that we will be. I don't think that President Trump wants to. But let's play this clip here. This is Anthony Pump It Up Pompliano on Squawk Box this morning. First, he has to explain why gold is outperforming Bitcoin. Let's see what he has to say.
Where are we going here? And how are you thinking about Bitcoin relative to gold in this particular moment?
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's really talking about right now. Bitcoin is down about 10% to start the year. Gold's up 20%. But if you look out over 1 year, they're both up about 35%. So it's pretty interesting that there's been this divergence. But if you go back and you take a look, you can actually see that gold usually leads these rallies. Okay. And nobody really knows why that happens. My kind of guess would be that a lot of the central banks and institutional investors, they're either not approved to buy Bitcoin or they're not used to running to Bitcoin in these moments of kind of geopolitical uncertainty.
There is not one central bank that I'm aware of that has shown any signs or interest in buying Bitcoin, right? We've seen some governments have, El Salvador and others, that have bought Bitcoin. We give them credit there. But I have not seen one central bank. In fact, what we're seeing from central banks and the Bank of International Settlements is no interest in Bitcoin at all, holding it as a store of value and actually denouncing it as some sort of legitimate form of payment that can be used at scale. So we're actually seeing the exact opposite, which would explain, this is not some crazy theory, why gold is now outperforming Bitcoin, recently, just, year to date, and why gold is continuing up and to the right while Bitcoin's trying to, fuel this narrative. And really, you're seeing everybody surrounding President Trump trying to really push this idea of buying Bitcoin. I think that they're going to kick themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot because they're pushing this so aggressively without having any legitimate reason or standing to sell this proposition to President Trump for. Right. So here's him explaining Bo Hines in the recent comments. Let's let it play.
Gated Bitcoin and the like. But do you think that there's definitely a sort of all green lights ahead for the taxpayer effectively to be buying Bitcoin? Because that's what we're talking about. Excuse me?
They're talking about tariff money going.
Yes. So I went down to Washington, D.C. last week to the White House. I interviewed Bo Hines, who's the executive director of the President's Advisor Council for Digital Assets. And I explicitly asked him this question. And the thing that he said to me that I think kind of took away was not only are they going to have the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, which we have, they are going to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. And
with what money? And does that have to be authorized by Congress?
So there's a bunch of different ways they could do it. I think what they're trying to figure out is what is the best way to do it. And so a couple of examples would be they could revalue the gold. They could sell some of that. They can then go and they could buy Bitcoin.
Does that have to be done with Congress's approval?
Absolutely not going to happen.
Who would be responsible? Who would be involved? And they have
all this has to be done with executive order. I mean,
well, they have an interagency group right now that's working together, and so at that table is everyone from energy policymakers to law enforcement to economic advisors. Kind of everyone is trying to figure this out. I don't think you're going to see kind of very rash decision making kind of unilaterally, but I do think that working group is trying to figure it out. But you also have things like the tariff revenue or other areas where we may be saving money that we previously were wasting or abusing. And so I think that is probably, to me, the thing that the market most misunderstands is it's not just hey, we're going to hold the Bitcoin. They're going to actively try to buy Bitcoin. And there's other countries around the world, they may be.
Yeah, so that's enough of that. It's one thing to say that you have a goal, right? We want to buy as much as we can. It's another thing to actually do it and legally do it, constitutionally do it. Remember, Congress has the power of the purse. They are the ones that direct where the money's going to go. Once it's in the hands of these federal agencies, then President Trump can direct those leaders of those agencies to, do what they want with those funds. And can you imagine if President Trump directed some of these agencies to just start buying Bitcoin with funds that they had been allocated to do other activities and roles with? Can you imagine the political blowback and the risk that President Trump would be taking is just not worth it. And I think that President Trump used the Bitcoin community for votes. This was purely transactional for him. He went to the Bitcoin conference last year and literally shilled them stablecoins. Have you heard President Trump say once that he wants to buy Bitcoin? No. You've heard him say that we want to make a reserve. We did make a reserve with Bitcoin that we already have seized. And that's really what he would have control over, would be the seized funds from, the Department of Justice and others. We have that Bitcoin now. If we want to sell it, we can. If we want to hold it, we can. Do we have authority to buy more? No. And I think, honestly, that it's delusional to suggest that President Trump himself wants to use taxpayer dollars to buy Bitcoin. I think it's delusional. I think it's coming from people that don't understand President Trump and are underestimating how much President Trump believes in gold, and gold actually backing the new financial system. And President Trump has made it clear that he believes in the technology. That's why he went and shilled stablecoins at the Bitcoin conference. And I think that the Bitcoin bros are completely missing on this one. Their campaign is in overdrive. But one thing's for certain, it's not stopping gold from soaring and absolutely ripping to new all-time highs. This is the gold continuous contract, 3,341. I've been watching this move all day long. And really, we've been watching it since last year. Gold just on an absolute tear from below 2,000 since we first started recording, gold and watching it, to now over $3,300 per ounce. Silver was also up today, back above 32, pushing towards $33 per ounce as well. But you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think of this idea of us using tax dollars to buy Bitcoin. I don't think that there's a chance that President Trump is going to allow it to happen on his watch. If Congress pushed it, okay, but that still seems far-fetched. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. Now, President Trump did recently sign a bill passed by the House and Senate to rescind the broker-dealer regulations for the DeFi environment. This action was taken under the Congressional Review Act. The significance of this move is twofold. Not only are the existing regulations immediately removed from the regulatory framework, but the IRS is also prohibited from implementing similar regulations in the future. This is a significant barrier preventing the IRS from advancing its control over DeFi. Shared here by Clinton Donnelly. Huge shout out to Clinton. And so, this is just massive, this news and the reporting requirements that were going to come in, the Biden administration passing this in the final moments of their time in office or whatever they were doing, right? Absolutely ridiculous. Thankfully, this has been rescinded. And it's also that, as Clinton Donnelly points out here, we're stopping them from implementing something like this in the future, which we love to see. So stablecoins, green light, DeFi, green light. You're still going to need to report your gains. Doesn't mean that you're not required. As long as we still have this IRS and you need to confess to them, apparently, you still will be required to pay your capital gains on your DeFi, what have you. But this DeFi broker rule has been rescinded, and we're stopping them from doing it in the future, which I love to see. Now, SEC versus Ripple. The parties' joint motion to hold the appeal in abeyance has been granted. The SEC is directed to file a status report within 60 days of this order. So that would take us out into the middle of June. But I want you guys to hang tight here. Some folks are going to see this headline and they're literally just going to go sell their XRP because they're going to think, oh, I can sell now and wait 60 days and I can come back and the case is finally going to be over. This is why people have been selling XRP, fading XRP, ignoring XRP for the past 4 years, is because this lawsuit was going on. And they assumed, XRP was never going to go anywhere while it's in this lawsuit. Well, they were wrong by hundreds of percent. Not only did we double it up, triple it up. We hit a 5-bagger on XRP after the Trump election. And so those who think that they have time to wait, time to play around, let me sell my XRP now and get back in here in 60 days, are going to be completely left behind. This aligns perfectly with our timeline of when we see XRP in the broader space starting to recover. But this additional catalyst behind XRP, along with some of the others like the ETFs, we have 3 more ETFs going live here at the end of this month for XRP. So we have additional bullish catalysts specific to XRP, like this case concluding, ETFs going live, on top of the other, bullish catalysts that could probably see our market reverse back to the upside now that tariffs are priced in, the storm has blown over, and now we've run into a new era of full clarity for XRP, full clarity for Ripple, and they're just going to continue to build and grow. Like I covered in the live show last night, Ripple just took a quantum leap with the acquisition of Hidden Road, $3 trillion of liquidity on a yearly basis, and a portion of that is going to be moving to the XRP ledger. And the institutions and banks that are partnered up with Ripple will no longer have to worry about working with Ripple and XRP because this case is going to be finally over. Okay? So there's the timeline, and I did want to give you guys a little bit of hope too. I believe that with this new SEC chair, Paul Atkins, and the shift that we've seen at the SEC, they're going to be filing this sooner rather than later. I don't think that it's going to take the full 60 days. Under Gary Gensler's SEC, they would have filed for an extra request to extend that timeline, right? They would have said, oh, no, we need more time. And they wouldn't have even agreed to this abeyance. The fact that we already have the SEC and Ripple coming to agreements and the judge, allowing this to go forward tells us where this is heading, straight towards a settlement, straight towards conclusion, and XRP price will be moving to the upside shortly. Major milestone shared here by Arthur from XP Market. The XRP ledger surpassed 6.4 million activated wallets. On average, though, around 0.5% of these wallets show any signs of activity within a given month. What are the remaining wallets used for? And I think that he meant to say, that basically we have less than 1% of these wallets are showing any type of activity. And, it's not really a question why this is. There's just a lot of people holding XRP that aren't doing anything with it. And I've talked about this, and you're going to see DeFi explode this year. You'll start to see activity pick up. But this is also to note how small of a group we are, right? I have, a lot of XRP wallets, right? Many of you guys have multiple XRP wallets. So when you consider that fact, there's literally only a few million of us in this XRP game, in this investment. For all the folks that say, oh, they're not going to let the XRP army get rich, we're nothing. We're nothing in the grand scheme of things. We're a small group of a couple million people that own this asset. And when you consider the fact that most folks have, bags that are, a few hundred XRP, maybe less than 1,000 XRP, and how many people are going to dump their entire bags when we go to $5 to $10, we are in a small group. If you own, over 1,000 XRP, if you own over 10,000 XRP, you are in a very, very small group of folks that have got into this asset that is being used for real utility, solving massive problems, and the price appreciation that's coming right around the corner here is going to be significant. Really is. And the XRP whales know it. That's why we're seeing continued accumulation from them. From XRP liquidity, we got a whale transfer of 131 million XRP transferred from an unknown wallet to an unknown wallet. XRP liquidity is tracking it. This appears to be non-exchange related. Whomever owns these wallets seems to be loading on XRP, sending most to this final wallet, totaling 349 million XRP. All wallet addresses connected are Binance, Bittrex, and has connections to staking on XRP. I don't know what he means by that. He says basically, I saw inbound from staking, but now unable to locate it. So I don't know what that really meant. But the point being, you have a whale right here. This is somebody, a group, an entity that's now amassed 349 million XRP in anticipation for what comes right around the corner, which to me is so clear, right? And it's so incredible, this position that we found ourselves in, where on the defensive side of our portfolio, our precious metals are holding gold all-time highs, while on the offensive side in the cryptocurrency space, these utilities that are US-based, XRP smashing, H-bar ripping to the upside. We're going to see big performers. I think you got DEG, you got a few other utility cryptos that are based in America that have tremendous upside from here. This is the real utility, I think, that can drive the space forward. Unlike what we see, the space has been propped up by a lot of degeneracy and silly stuff. I think that also the Bitcoin bros and the Bitcoin maxis have also been hurting our messaging, trying to shill President Trump and the government to just start buying their bags. It's like, how do we actually move this space forward? Well, take it from the 43rd Treasurer of the United States, Rosie Rios, who said that XRP is one of the only digital assets with real world utility. With that being said, folks, I'm going to wrap up this update. Jerome Powell will be speaking here shortly. I'll be sure to cover that along with more updates on the way. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video. Help us out by sharing it out far and wide. And all of our community resources are available at the website, zachrector.com. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.